You are now listening to Black Coffee, Crime, and Crochet, a true crime podcast where cozy meets criminal, hosted by Jasmine C.L. Prince. Grab your yarn, pour up an iced coffee, let's sit through the chaos.
A credit repair and business funding, air quotes, expert, I'm doing air quotes, expert, whose empire crumbled into a murder for hire plot. Sis, murder for hire? Like, you're doing too much. All right, y'all. BC3 crew, we are here. It's official. Welcome to Black Coffee, Crime, and Crochet. I'm Jasmine, your host, blending my love for coffee, true crime, and crochet into a one-of-a-kind storytelling experience. Listen, y'all, I'm excited. We here, nervous and all. It's the first episode, but I had to do this. Like, I you know how you see people doing stuff all the time and you're like, oh shoot. You know how you see people doing stuff all the time and you're like, man, I wish I could do that. I'm in a season of I can do that. Like why not? Why can't I? So we're here. We're doing this. Thank y'all for rocking with me. Thank you for being here. We about to get into some scams this episode. I'm gonna be talking about scams, frauds, and crimes, but today particularly we're talking about scams and frauds by 3 Black queens. So it's crazy. But grab your coffee, your favorite drink, whatever it is, settle in, and let's unravel today's story together. All right. So, we have segments that we're going to do every episode. We have a coffee segment we're going to do or an iced beverage. It might be something other than coffee, depending on what time I record. But I do have iced coffee today. So we're going to do an iced coffee segment. Then we're going to do a crochet segment. And then we're going to jump into the story. So today's iced coffee recipe is a caramel vanilla iced coffee. So if you want to make it at home, here's what you need. 1 cup of cold brew coffee, a 1/2 cup of milk or cream, 2 tablespoons of caramel syrup, 1 tablespoon of vanilla syrup, of course your ice, and if you're trying to be fancy, do some whipped cream and caramel drizzle on top. So you fill your glass with ice cubes, you pour the cold brew coffee over it, stir in the caramel syrup and vanilla, top it with their milk or cream, stir it just gently, and then add your whipped cream and drizzle caramel on top. And then there you go. You're caffeinated. You're ready to go. So let's move on to today's crochet project. So every week I'm going to tell you what I'm working on. If I'm still doing the same thing, I'll just give you progress on it. But today I am working on my husband's granny square sweater that I've been working on for forever because my idea for it keeps changing. It was a hexagon sweater, but I was like, I don't think my husband really given hexagon sweater, so I wanted it to be like a pullover. I mean, he's not really given hexagon cardigan, so I wanted to make him a pullover, but I've never done that before. So I figured out, though, that it's just a bunch of large granny squares, which is easy. I can do it without really thinking, so that's what we're working on. I use the Red Heart Latte yarn and a 6.5 millimeter hook. So it's working up real quick, which I like because, the bigger the hook, the faster the project works up. So that's what I'm doing. So if you are stitching along with me, go ahead and grab your yarn and whatever hook you're using for your project. Make sure you don't forget what hook you're using because that has happened to me before and then I had to go back and do it over in the right hook. Y'all don't want to do that. So make sure you have the right hook. All right. So, if you're stitching with me, let me know what colors you're using, what project you're working on. Let me know wherever you're listening at. I know on Spotify, it lets you make comments. Or my website just launched too. So if you want to go to my actual website and leave comments, I would love that too. The website is blkc3.com. All right. So, y'all. All right, let's go. I got this coffee and I'm hype. I'm excited. So if I talk really fast, listen, that's another thing too. With podcasts, when they're just getting started, if you find me a year from now, a couple of months from now, and you're like, oh, this is great, and you come back to this one, which is the first episode, give me some grace, okay? I'm going to grow. I'm going to learn. It's going to get better with time. Like I said, I'm nervous on this one, so I'm going to figure out, what I'm doing as I go along. So if you start here, just give me some time. All right, so before we get into the scams of this episode, I need to tell y'all I remembered this story about how I almost got scammed out of $10,000 when I was in college. Like crazy. So, okay, so boom, I'm in college, right? And being suspicious and knowing a little too much about crime, I think is a thing that saved me. So I'm in college. It's around 2010, 2011, something like that. And one of my friends got connected with this guy. I don't even remember how it got set up, but she was trying to get a car at the time. And however she got connected with him, he said that he could help her get a car. And we're like, okay, sounds great, right? Except nah, y'all. It was not. So his pitch was he would write her a check for a large amount. It was something like 10,000, and she would spend 8,000 on the car and then give him the rest. So for me, nah, instant red flags. I've been watching true crime since Snapped started, watching with my mom. So for me, I was like, why? Why? But the problem was she didn't have a bank account. So guess who she asked to help, right? Me, because I had a bank account. So I'm already feeling weird about it. But because it's my friend, I'm like, okay, I'm a little skeptical, but she's asking me to do it. So I'm like, okay. So he endorsed the check to me, and then I was supposed to deposit that check into my account, right? Okay, so I'm already red flags going up, but here is where things got real sketchy real fast. So as soon as I told him that I deposited that check into my account, he immediately started pressuring me to withdraw the money because some of the funds had cleared. But I knew better. I was like, I ain't touching this check until all of it clears. So the bank tell me it's okay. Like, I don't care that some of the balance is already available. Like, no, I'm not touching it yet. Y'all, this man started blowing me up, texting me, calling me, constantly asking me when I was going to give him his part of the money. And I'm like, this is a huge, even bigger red flag. Like, y'all on TikTok where y'all see that red flag guy, like he's in the back waving that big red flag at this. Cause I'm starting to feel like, what is wrong? Like, why are you so pressed for me to withdraw this money? So after him pressuring me for a while, I'm like, let me go to the bank. So I go to the bank and I tell them what's going on, and that I'm a little suspicious about it. So like, okay, let us look into it. And that's when they dropped the bomb. It was a fraudulent check. And had I taken any money out, I would have owed the bank. Not, my friend wouldn't have owed them. The scammer would not have owed them, but it would have been me. I would have been on the hook for 10 G's. And like I said, I am in college. I'm out of state. I'm already struggling, trying to make it through. And I'm like, I would have been on the hook for that. The worst part is I found out later that the guy had done this before. So he's like for real life scammer. So unfortunately, my friend never got a car because she, it just didn't work out. But the scammer guy, he just moved on to the next victim. But I was lucky because had I not been paying attention, I would have been on the hook for however much money I took out. And another thing is, I didn't even, I ended up closing that bank account because the bank was treating me like I was the criminal. They're like, oh, you should have known that it was fraudulent, which of course, yes. But at the same time, I'm in college and I did right. I didn't spend any of the money. So I didn't like the fact that they were treating me like I was in on it when I didn't spend any of it. Like, it didn't take anything for you to cancel the check and, get it out of my account. So since they treated me like I was a criminal, I was like, forget y'all. And I closed my account and went somewhere else because y'all not about to play me at all. So that was how I almost got scammed out of $10,000. So here is some quick fraud prevention tips. So you never know when you might run into something shady. So if someone asks you to deposit a check for them, especially a large one, just don't do it at all. Never withdraw money from a check until it fully clears. All right. Even if it's some of it, just wait for all of it to clear. Trust me. Be wary of anybody pressuring you to move fast because they're trying to avoid you having time to think about it and process it. So if they're rushing you, calling you nonstop, or making you feel uneasy, just no, it's a scam. If something obvious, this is the obvious one. If something seems too good to be true, y'all, we know it is. All right. Scammers make money by making it sound easy, but real opportunities, they don't just come like that. You got to work for it. And then talk to the bank. Okay. They're going to let you know, if it's fraudulent. So talk to your bank, let them know, let them check it out and see if the check is real or not. And then the last one is trust your instincts, okay? If something feels off, it probably is. And if I hadn't listened to my gut, I would have owed $10,000. So y'all, come on now. Just let's not get scammed. And I'm trying to find here she is. Okay, so on TikTok, there is this TikToker who is great she's a financial fraud analyst. Her handle is Shy Fraud TV, ShyFraud TV. All right. If you're not following her, go follow her. Because like I said, she is a financial fraud analyst. So she gives a lot of tips on how to not fall victim to bank fraud too. Because like I said, I would have been on the hook for that 10 G's, not anybody else. Whew. All right. So, this is a new segment idea, crimes I almost got caught up in. I don't know. I might make this a recurring segment. I have space on my website for y'all to fill out stuff. So we'll see how this works out. If you have a scam story, maybe something shady you almost got involved in or anything like that, let me know. You can send me a DM or an email. My @ is Black Coffee Crime Crochet on all platforms. It'll be in the show notes too. So let me know, contact me, and I might feature it in a future episode, because if it happened to you, it's possible that it could happen to someone else. And, we can all learn from this. This show is for, educational purposes and all of that. So if I get enough, even if it's just one person that sends it to me, I'll feature it and make this an actual segment. So that's all the preliminary stuff. Like I said, if you find me in a year from now, this part of this might be shorter before we get into the actual story. I don't know, but I wanted to do that. So here we go. Today's episode is titled Luxury Lies: How Financial Fraudsters Sold a Dream and Paid the Price. So like I told you at the beginning, we're covering 3 women who built their wealth through deception, promising financial success to others while secretly gaming the system. Their stories remind us that when something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Okay? We're diving into the lives of Ashleigh Grayson, a credit repair and business funding, in quotes, expert. I'm doing the air quotes, expert whose empire crumbled into a murder for hire plot. Sis, murder for hire? Like, you're doing too much. Then we have Anaya Bean, a financial aid administrator turned fraudster who stole thousands meant for students. As somebody who went to college, I'm like, girl, that ain't even, no. And then we have Aisha Hall, the self-proclaimed bank fraud queen who scammed her way into $1 million lifestyle. And of the 3, I feel like we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Okay. So by the end of this episode, you might start questioning everything you see on social media. So, like I said, let's get into it. Ashleigh Grayson, the credit repair, business funding, and murder for hire case. So we're starting with Ashleigh Grayson. If you were on social media at all, particularly Facebook and TikTok over the last few years, you would have seen her flexing a luxury lifestyle and selling high-ticket financial courses. She claimed she could help people fix their credit get business loans, and ease debt, which you can do by yourself. You don't need to hire somebody to do that. Okay, anyways. So if you don't want to do it by yourself, though, it sounds amazing to hire somebody to do it, right? Okay. Well, the truth was not as glamorous, okay? Because clients paid thousands, several thousands, like 1,000 to 2,000 or upwards for her programs, but many say they never saw results. Reports say she used fraudulent methods to apply for business loans and encourage clients to do the same. And when people started demanding refunds or exposing her tactics, she disappeared from social media altogether. What started as a get-rich-quick scheme ended in violence, betrayal, and a prison sentence. Ashleigh Grayson, better known online as Ashleigh Grayson, is a Texas native who gained notoriety as a self-styled millionaire entrepreneur and online course creator. In the late 2010s, she started an internet-based business called Digital Course Recipe, claiming to teach people how to turn their skills into profitable online businesses, specifically credit repair services. Y'all can't see me, but I'm rolling my eyes, okay? Grayson had overcome personal hardships. She once faced eviction and car repossession and worked a day job at a U.S. Postal Service before pursuing entrepreneurship full-time. She even received a workers' compensation settlement after losing a finger on an assembly line, a windfall that she later admitted jump-started her finances. So this part is important to note. She received a workers' compensation settlement, right? We're going to get it. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but we're going to find out that this is, like I said, this is the money that jump-started her finances. But she tells people that she got that money from online by selling a course. But that's not the case. All right. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so in 2021, Grayson publicly boasted that she made $1,039,943 in 40 minutes upon launching her course, branding herself a millionaire mentor, and inspiring thousands of social media followers with her rags to riches story. Again, rolling my eyes. Grayson married her husband Joshua in a lavish 2021 yacht proposal featuring R&B singer Monica, which again, if you was on social media, you saw that clip because it went absolutely viral, further boosting the couple's following. Okay, and they used this like, oh, we know Monica, woo, woo, woo. And Monica like, this is a check, okay? I don't know these people. I ain't friends with them. They hired me. I did my job. That was it. So she was making sure later on down the line that she was not tied up into this. She said, I did a job. They gave me some money. End of the story. I don't personally know them. Okay, so let's get into the scam. Grayson's primary venture, Digital Course Recipe, sold high-priced online coaching packages that promised to teach clients how to launch six-figure credit repair businesses. Clients paid $1,000 to $2,000 each for her course, enticed by Grayson's claim of rapid success. Oh, child. But according to numerous former customers, the course was a scam. In mid-2022, a TikToker named Sherelle Hodge, which is how I found out about this from following Sherelle. Her username is @SS Ashleigh. I know I said that wrong. It'll be in the show notes. She went viral with a detailed expose accusing Grayson of scamming people out of $1,000, sometimes $2,000. That's a direct quote from her. Quote unquote, to fund the lavish lifestyle she flaunted online. Like I said, Sherelle made it her mission to expose Grayson. Like from the time she was saying that she got scammed all the way up until Grayson was sentenced, Sherelle was on top of it. Like, I'm pretty sure, I think she has a whole, what's it called? Playlist on her page about this. So if you want to hear it from Sherelle's account, head to, like I said, I'm gonna tag her in it, but head to her TikTok because she goes into detail about it. But Hodge and others allege that Grayson had plagiarized someone else's course content, repackaged it as her own digital course recipe, and delivered minimal value. Essentially just basic Google slides, they said, while blocking or silencing customers who complained. So this also is how you have to be careful in the online space, because there is this thing going around where I forget what it's called, but basically you can reseller rights. I think that's what it's called. You can buy a course, rebrand it for your own branding, and then sell it again. Like you didn't come up with the material at all. You just went to this website, found something that's in your niche. You buy it, repackage it for your branding, and then sell it to your followers as if you wrote the content, as if it's authentic content when it's not. So that's what they're saying essentially that Sherelle did, or not Sherelle, that Ashleigh did. Y'all, people was leaving Indeed reviews, and then claiming that Grayson would remove honest feedback and ban users, quote, for the smallest reasons, unquote, leaving many paying clients feeling ripped off with nothing to show for their investment. And like I said, we talking $1,000 to $2,000, which is not a little bit of money. Like $1,000 to $2,000, that is, for some people, that's like 2 weeks of work. Some people could be more like a month. That's absolutely ridiculous. The scale of Grayson's operation was significant, okay? She touted having helped, quote, several people, unquote, start businesses, and even claimed a net worth of $30 million, which is a figure obviously widely doubted by critics, but she was claiming she was worth $30 million. But you can't help these people get their $1,000 to $2,000 worth that they gave you. All right, girl. Please be for real. Be so for real. By leveraging aspirational social media marketing, this girl drew in customers, quote, from all over the world, unquote, who scraped together funds to buy into her program. She had groups on Facebook popping up about how she was a scam, because that's how many people had invested into her and not seen any return on their investment. While some people, it's always some, while some people were satisfied because they're saying they got their money's worth, a growing number came forward as victims who felt cheated. Of course, this is how you know it's a scam. They have to make sure that some people get their money's worth. Because if everybody's saying it, then obviously it's a scam. But if some people were getting their money's worth, then it's like, they could kind of say, they can make a claim for saying, well, maybe it was just you. Maybe you didn't do it right. Maybe you didn't follow all the what the course was saying. So they got to have at least some people get their money's worth. You got to do the work for some people. But she's not about to do it for everybody. Scammers don't do it for everybody. That's how you know that they out here scamming. One woman said she paid $2,000 for the course only to be immediately blocked by Grayson afterward. Immediately. Like, she didn't even try to cover it up at this point. She just, got my money blocked. Listen, if I pay you $2,000 and you block me right away, first of all, that's why I bank with Chase, because Chase rock with us. I am putting in a claim for fraud for services not rendered, and then I'm blasting you everywhere. BBB, social media, like I'm going in. Like I'm going in on you. $2,000 and you gonna immediately block me? Like, nonsense. It's up. It's on site when I see you for real. Others noted that Grayson's much celebrated $1 million launch might not have come from business sales at all, but like I said, that earlier injury settlement that I told y'all about, she was trying to make it seem like she earned that $1 million from sales, but really it was that earlier injury settlement. And she later claims, or she later admits that that is the case. But by 2022, allegations about her fraudulent practices and questions about the true source of her wealth were spreading widely on TikTok and Facebook. Grayson responded by aggressively trying to dox and sue her detractors. This is where sis get into the feds getting involved. She filed a defamation lawsuit in early 2022 against a financial coach, Derica Harwell, who had publicly questioned Grayson's success and called her a fraud. In that suit, Grayson portrayed herself as a, quote, legitimate business consulting, unquote, professional whose reputation had been, quote, who had been unfairly, quote, permanently damaged, unquote, by Harwell's comments. Again, be so for real. Your reputation had been damaged way before Harwell came forward, okay? You just mad because because Harwell had put it on a much larger scale and you couldn't make it go away. So because she did that, Harwell in turn countered that Grayson had stalked, harassed, and even threatened her, pointing to ominous messages and behavior from Grayson. This escalating feud and a former customer turned critic would soon take a dark turn beyond mere internet drama. Okay, so here we go with the court proceedings. By mid-2022, Ashleigh Grayson's thriving empire was crumbling under accusations, and she chose a violent path to silence people. I know there is going to be an episode of American Greed or something about her, because how you just go from scamming people to what you do next is beyond me. In August 2022, Grayson and her husband secretly solicited a Tennessee couple who were former acquaintances from Memphis to carry out a murder for hire plot. Sis, murder for hire? You just gonna escalate that quickly because they calling you out on your scam? Really? I don't think she really thought this through. Because the punishment for a scam is way different than a murder for hire plot. Like, sis must not have been watching, she must not have been in her true crime bag, because that jump is insane. But Grayson believed that her online rival, Derica Harwell, a South Haven, Mississippi woman operating a similar online business, was behind the negative post about her, and she wanted revenge. That's where you get into trouble. Trying to get revenge never, ever works in your favor, because you're just desperate at that point when you're trying to get revenge. According to the U.S. Justice Department indictment, Grayson offered to pay $20,000 for each of 3 hits targeting Harwell, an ex-boyfriend of Grayson's who she said was talking too much, and a Texas woman who I said before was Sherelle Hodge, who had posted critical comments about her. And that's according to justice.gov. I'm listing all of my sources in my show notes. So all of my sources and my legal stuff, that I'm not a lawyer, I'm not, everybody's, all of that stuff is posted in my show notes. But yeah, so that's according to the U.S. Justice Department. In a recorded call on September 10th, 2022, Grayson urgently confirmed she wanted the South Haven woman, Harwell, killed, quote, as soon as possible, end quote, even offering an extra $5,000 bonus if it could be done within a week. So she was serious. Not only is she saying, I want her killed, but she's saying I want her killed ASAP. Like, and if you do it, I got 5 on it. Like, she was not playing. This was not I was kidding. I really didn't want her. No, she was serious and she was making plans to have this done. But unbeknownst to Grayson, the Memphis couple she had contacted got cold feet and turned informant, which I don't blame them at all. Like, you're not about to hit me up and and murder. No, I'm not going to prison for nobody. They video recorded Grayson's instructions and later tricked her into believing they had made an attempt on Harwell's life. So Grayson met the pair and paid them $10,000 for the staged failed attempt, essentially advancing half of the fee for a murder that never occurred, which the scammer got scammed. I'm not mad about it at all. So by this point, the FBI was involved. So agents had even warned Derica in late September 2022 of a credible threat to her life and placed her under protection. Which I'm glad they did that, because obviously if Ashleigh's paying, she is serious. And if she had figured out that Derica was still alive, she could have tried to hire somebody else who didn't get cold feet. So I'm glad that they had taken those steps to take this threat seriously and put Derica into protection, because that could have gone very badly. But in July 2023, a federal grand jury indicted Ashleigh and Joshua Grayson, her husband, for use of interstate commerce facilities in the commission of murder for hire, and prosecutors brought charges under RICO, racketeering. These are federal charges. You don't play when you get a RICO charge. Like, that's not something you want to play with. They brought the RICO under racketeering, given the broader pattern of alleged fraud and violence. So it wasn't just fraud. You added a violence piece to what you was already doing with your fraud, which is why I say she clearly didn't think that through at all. Because you should have just picked one or the other and not both. So the case goes to trial in March 2024 in the Western District of Tennessee. And after a week-long proceeding, the jury found Ashleigh Grayson guilty of murder for hire charge. She was found guilty on the murder for hire charge, while her husband Joshua was acquitted of all wrongdoing, which is crazy. But that's neither here nor there. So Ashleigh was found guilty while her husband was acquitted. And by this point, because like I said, she was indicted in 2023, but the case didn't go to trial till 2024. In between when she was indicted and when she went to trial, Ashleigh got pregnant twice. Not once, but twice. Because I guess she felt like she thought that if she was a mom by this point, they would go easy on her. Yeah. Okay, girl. So on October 31st, 2024, the U.S. District Judge Thomas Parker sentenced Ashleigh Grayson to 120 months in federal prison, which was the maximum 10-year term that she could have gotten, plus 3 years of supervised release for the murder for hire plot. Girl, you got 10 years just for murder for hire. That's not even counting the fraud. That's just the murder for hire. There is no parole, and then, quote, the judge is saying, quote, there is no parole in the federal system, end quote. The judge noted, underscoring that she will serve essentially the full term. You have to do 10 whole years in federal prison. And you got 2 babies. I just, Ooh, I can't. I have 2 girls. And I can't imagine missing 10 years of their lives. Like, I just can't. I can't fathom that. Girl, you, Whew. Okay, so no one was physically harmed in the end, but as prosecutors emphasized, it was only through intervention that Grayson's deadly plan was averted, which is true, because if she had asked the right people who didn't get cold feet, it would have gone a completely different way. Grayson's indictment and conviction attracted massive attention on social media, where sleuths had been tracking the case for months. She became perhaps the first influencer known for selling an online course to end up convicted in a federal murder plot. And it's not over. It's not over, y'all. Grayson's legal troubles may not be over. The July 2023 indictments reference to racketeering suggests authorities viewed her entire business as part of a fraud enterprise. Not just a fraud, but a whole enterprise. Though to date, she has not been separately tried for wire fraud or financial crimes. So like I said, the 10 years was just the murder for hire plot. And now they're viewing her entire business as a fraud enterprise. So the murder for hire plot, the murder for hire charge was evidently the easiest to prove and carried a hefty penalty on its own. So I want to know if after she served these 10 years, if they're going to hit her with the fraud case after that. That would be crazy to serve 10 years, think that you are free, and they're like, nah, sis, now let's get these fraud charges. That would be absolutely wild. Like, I would be sick at that point. Ooh, meanwhile, Grayson's civil defamation battles also proceeded in parallel. A Mississippi court in 2023 refused to dismiss Derica Harwell's defamation counterclaim against Grayson, finding that the two sides' allegations were so irreconcilable, quote, irreconcilable, end quote, that a jury might have to decide who was lying. In other words, even as Grayson headed to prison, she is still embroiled in lawsuits with the victims of her scams and slander, which good for you, sis. All right, good for you. Ooh, that's a lot. All because you was mad that people caught on to the fact that you was a scammer. Good for you. Good for you, Ashleigh. So as of late 2024, Ashleigh Grayson is incarcerated in a federal prison facility in Fort Worth, Texas, beginning her 10-year sentence. At 35 years old, she will be in her mid-40s by the time of her release, around 2032. Grayson has not spoken publicly since her conviction. In fact, both she and her husband largely went silent on social media once the allegations broke, turning their once public Instagram and Facebook profiles private. Her husband, Joshua Grayson, who was acquitted and remains free, has distanced himself from the fiasco and reportedly opened a legitimate franchise business, a B12 vitamin injection clinic in San Antonio, to support their family. And I heard he was doing legit stuff anyway before he met Ashleigh. So I feel like that's not that far-fetched for him to start another legitimate one, because I could be wrong, but I think he was already doing that in the beginning. Ashleigh was the one that was frauding. But like I said, was scamming. But I could be wrong. But anyway, the couple's two children are now without their mother for the duration of her prison term. Financially, it's unclear what became of Grayson's business empire. Digital course recipes operation have effectively halted. The negative publicity and Grayson's imprisonment have destroyed its credibility. There is no public record of court-ordered restitution in the murder for hire case, since it did not involve financial loss to a victim. But Grayson may yet face civil judgment from pending lawsuits. Derica Harwell's defamation suit against Grayson, for instance, could seek damages for the harassment and emotional distress caused. Which, yes, sis, because you had me out here in witness protection because you're trying to take me out. Yes, that is emotional distress. Absolutely. Get your money. I hope she get everything she asked for and more, because that was wild. All because I'm letting people know that you out here scamming. You put a hit on my life. That's crazy. Additionally, any clients who feel defrauded could pursue legal action, though many may not, given the difficulty of recovering money from someone headed to prison. Some observers have pointed out that the irony that Grayson spent years selling a dream of wealth and success only to end up as a federal inmate, a downfall that has itself become a cautionary tale on the internet. As for where Grayson is now, in terms of her industry involvement, she is effectively out of the online coaching business because she's in prison. So she doesn't have access to any social media to continue her influencer persona, which is basically how she gained her notoriety in the first place. So it remains to be seen if upon release she will attempt to rebrand or claim personal reform, because we know a lot of scammers do that. Like, they get out and they're like, oh, I've changed, I've learned my lesson, which we're going to get into two who actually did learn their lesson, but we've seen the ones who claim to have learned their lesson just to not have learned their lesson and get right back into scamming. But for now, Ashleigh Grayson's name is synonymous with fraud and betrayal in the eyes of former followers. In the court of public opinion, her once inspirational brand is irrevocably tainted. Community discussions about her case are filled with equal parts. Community discussions about her case are filled with outrage. Some feel 10 years is just punishment for someone who tried to have people killed, while a few have argued that the sentence was harsh since ultimately no one was murdered. Which, come on, y'all. The only reason she wasn't is because the people she hired got cold feet. If they hadn't gotten cold feet, then somebody would have gotten hurt. So I'm not for that, because it was real close to it being a totally different story. So let's get into some firsthand accounts and reactions. Because Grayson herself hasn't given any interviews, firsthand insight into her mindset comes mainly from her own social media posts and court documents. In her now deleted celebratory Facebook post from 2021, which obviously did not age gracefully, Grayson ecstatically wrote, "Mama, I made it. Somebody call up Forbes, LOL." And that's a quote. Let me do that again. She wrote, quote, "Mama, I made it. Somebody call up Forbes, LOL," end quote, after allegedly earning $1 million in minutes, which we know that's not the case. This post, cited in news reports, exemplified the public persona she crafted, one of pious gratitude. Quote, "To God be the glory, three exclamation points," end quote, she wrote, an exuberant self-congratulation. Privately, however, her communications took a darker tone. FBI evidence revealed Grayson sending harassing and threatening messages to Derica Harwell via Facebook Messenger when Harwell's criticism went viral. Harwell and others have described receiving intimidating DMs and even experiencing doxing, which, if you don't know, it's when somebody posts your location, essentially, online for the public to see, as Grayson sought to squash dissent. In one legal filing, Harwell recounted how the FBI informed her that Grayson had tried to hire a hitman to kill her, a revelation that forced Harwell to flee her home under federal protection. Which, again, I hope she get all her money for that emotional distress claim, because I got to leave my home and go into federal protection because you mad, essentially, and you throwing a hissy fit and you trying to get revenge over something that was right, which is crazy. This coffee got me turned. I might have made it a little too strong. I did 2 tablespoons of instant espresso, and I don't know, it's like, what time is it? It's 2:30. I'm finna be up all night. I know I'm too old for this. Ooh, child, y'all pray for me, because I'm really about to be up all night. Which is probably good, because I need to get this edited for y'all for tomorrow. But let me focus. If y'all didn't know, I have ADHD too. So I'm doing the most right now. I'm trying to turn this light off, and it's okay, Jasmine, focus. Okay, so where am I at? Okay, so these are direct accounts from the Target of Grayson's revenge scheme, illustrating just how personally Grayson took the online attacks on her reputation. From the victims of Grayson's course scam, we have heard numerous firsthand stories via social media. TikTok videos, like we said, by Sherelle Hodge detailed how Hodge felt duped and ignored after paying $2,000 to Grayson. Which, again, if I pay you $2,000 and I don't get what I paid for, it's on site. Hodge said, quote, "People are saving their pennies to attend this digital course recipe, ... and then they get blocked," end quote. Hodge lamented, underscoring the betrayal customers felt. On Twitter, now X, a user claiming familiarity with Grayson's family noted the personal fallout. Quote, "They gave Ashleigh Grayson 10 years. Her first baby is maybe 2, and she has an infant. I told my cousin she was a fraud. My cousin proceeded to buy her course and got scammed. Look how the mighty have fallen," end quote. The tweet reads. This anecdote, shared widely online, suggests that even people close to Grayson's circle were warning others about her long before law enforcement stepped in. In another reaction, a commenter flatly stated, quote, "She's a fraud," end quote, encapsulating the betrayal felt by many who had looked up to Grayson, which is another thing. You had all these people looking up to you, aspiring to be like you, thinking that they can do what you're doing, and you're out here scamming. If you want to be an influencer, you have to actually influence positively. That's the point. That's the thing about the influencer age we're in too. Because everything that glitters ain't gold. And people out here thinking that these are goals and aspirations when really they're not doing it legitimately. There are people who are doing it for real, but you have to be real careful about who you thinking is somebody to look up to, because it's not always what it seems. But we also have law enforcement officials who have provided firsthand commentary. Upon Grayson's sentencing, the acting U.S. attorney remarked that her case was a, quote, 21st century crime where online feuds and senseless rivalries bled into the real world, end quote, calling it fortunate that no one was hurt despite Grayson's intent. This statement highlights how unprecedented Grayson's story is: an internet influencer turned convicted felon over virtual grudges. The FBI special agent in charge added that the case, quote, underscores the strength of joint federal law enforcement efforts, end quote, to keep the community safe. So, in sum, y'all, the voices surrounding Ashleigh Grayson's saga, from her defrauded clients and terrorized targets to the agents and attorneys who stopped her, paint a picture of a woman who went from inspirational to criminal. Her downfall has been documented in real time by those who lived through it, providing a rich, if disturbing, record that will fuel future reporting and likely true crime storytelling like this. So, engagement question: have you ever been tempted by an online financial guru? And if so, what made you trust or not trust them? I want to hear it in the comments. All right, y'all. So I know I said we were doing 3 ladies. We still are, but I don't want this to be too long. So this is going to be part 1 of 3. Next week will be Anaya Bean. And then depending on how long that one is, the following week might be the last one, which is Aisha Hall, which we'll see how it goes, since they both were on the same show, 2 different episodes, but the same show, the same season. I might try to get them together because they did a lot of post-show things together since their frauds were similar. But we'll see. But basically what I'm saying is this is the end of this episode. We're just going to break it up a little bit because this is the first one. I don't want to give y'all too much. And I know I did a lot of talking at the beginning. So we're going to pause right there. Do y'all want to do We'll save it. We'll save it. So at the end, I do sip or spill segment where we talk about the cases, but I think I'm gonna do it at the end of, be it part 2 or part 3. We'll do it all together. So we're gonna end it here. So thanks for tuning in to the first episode of Black Coffee, Crime, and Crochet. If you enjoyed today's episode or today's story, which I hope you did, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow me on social media. You can find all of that info in the show notes, as well as the sources that I used. So, like I said, next week we'll be diving into part 2 of this series, which is another fraud scam, which is Anaya Bean. So stay tuned. Until then, keep your coffee strong, your stitches even, and your wits sharp. Bye.
Disclaimer. Great effort is made to ensure that all materials used in Black Coffee, Crime, and Crochet adhere to fair use guidelines. No copyright infringement is intended. If you are the copyright owner or represent the owner of any material used in this content and have concerns about its use, please contact me and I will promptly address the issue.